Good morning, good evening. I hope you are doing well. Today, I wanted to bring you an update on a case that I closely followed and reported on back in 2022. The disappearance and eventual, we found out, the murder of 20-month-old Quinton Simon. This tragic case never should have happened, like so many other, tragic, senseless cases that have happened far, far too many times. Quinton Simon, 20 months old. His life was still ahead of him. He was just starting his life off and learning about the world around him. A curious little 20-month-old little boy. I'm sorry if this content is disturbing in any way, but it needs to be said. It needs to be reported. This is the facts around this case. The night before Quinton Simon disappeared, initially, Leilani Simon, Quinton Simon's mother, said that she had gone to bed and that her boyfriend had mistakenly left the door open and Quinton Simon had wandered away. This was her initial story. When pressed and when investigators arrived that morning, her story quickly changed. She, first tried to cast doubt, and say that a babysitter may have, done this, and she didn't know what happened to 20-month-old Quinton. After a 6-week search for Quinton Simon, his body was discovered in a local landfill, discarded just like another bag of trash. We now know that she had disposed of Quinton Simon in a dumpster near a business that she had frequented, tossed him away like there was nothing. He was nothing to her. This lady additionally had 2 other children, and she doesn't care about them. But now suddenly, for court, she is asking and telling people that she cares and loves her other 2 children, a 4-year-old and now a toddler. The FBI, after the body of Quinton Simon was discovered in the landfill, flew his remains to Quantico, Virginia, to do a complete autopsy and forensic examination of Quinton. There, they determined that Quinton Simon cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head, and they did note in the report additionally that he was beaten. It wasn't just one blow to the head, it was several blows to the head that caused Quinton Simon's actual death. After the forensic examination, Quinton Simon's remains have been flown back to Savannah, Georgia, where it is unclear at this point if they will release the remains to the family for burial or if they must wait until after the court case. I know, as disturbing as that is, we don't have, the opportunity to question the justice system at this time. The defense most certainly is going to call in their own expert to do an autopsy and to do a forensic examination of 20-month-old Quinton Simon to try to defend this lady. Initially, Leilani Simon was charged with just a couple of felonies, enough to make an arrest. Then she was, charged with a total of 19 crimes in total in disappearance, related to Quinton Simon in his death, lying to the officers, filing false police reports, and 3 counts of murder. A couple weeks ago, Leilani Simon wanted to ask the judge to dismiss the criminal murder charges against her in the death of Quinton, saying that the prosecution had not submitted enough evidence to prove that murder was the cause of death, or that this was the manner in which death was, occurred. And people are just going on with their lives. They're not remembering this little boy and all he had to give. His life was ahead of him. He did nothing wrong. According to the prosecuting attorney's office, they surmise the night before Quinton was actually murdered, that Leilani Simon, like so many other nights of the week, had done drugs. and during a drug-filled rage, beat Quinton Simon when he wouldn't go to sleep, or something to that effect, that she was drug-filled and she caused the death of her son. Then, in a panic, gathered him up and threw him in a dumpster of a nearby business, as hard as that is to believe. Going back to the court, they decided that they're not going to dismiss the 3 murder charges against her. And they also denied bail, even though Lanny Simon said through her attorney that she needed bail so she could keep in contact with her 2 other children. Again, 2 children that she obviously doesn't care about. She didn't care about them then and doesn't care about them now. She has been denied bail, and she will stay right there in jail in Savannah, Georgia, until her trial is finished up. And hopefully then they will put her someplace where she will never be able to harm another soul. Quinton Simon, again, we can't forget the little life that he had. Where could he have been and what could he have been in the future? So many people loved him and so many people cared about him. But the one person who was given that goal and that job to care for him, to make sure that, that nothing, ill happened to him, turned out to be the one person who could not care for him at all, who had nothing for him. He was just an ends to a mean and a support check. And then she decided, in maybe a drug-filled rage, that was it. She didn't have it in her anymore. If you know someone who is being abused or you suspect abuse of a child, please call the number that is on the screen right now. This is the national toll-free number. You can call 7 days a week if you suspect abuse of any child. Again, please call. Even if you think it's just a remote chance that some child out there is being abused or neglected, please call. And thank you.